Okay, we are back with another amazing guest. 2.5 years now since her debut interview, and from what I know, a lot has changed for her in that time. I'm sure she needs no introduction, but let us welcome under 76 kilo IPF World record breaking and now world champion powerlifter, and our first recurring guest on the show, Miss Karlina Tongotea.
Hello again.
Look, I know a lot's changed for you since we last sat down in March of 2021. You just come off what was then your best competition to date, which was the WP Oceania Champs, where you hit a 533 total. We were still sitting down sort of comparing WP and IPF, so I'm sure the people sort of want to know what happened next. So after a lot of scrolling through the gram, I was reminded that the next comp for you was actually June of 2021. I was alongside a strongman event that I was running. So that was WP North Islands. We'll just touch on these comps sort of briefly.
Yeah.
You had a 553 total for a 20 kilo PB. Can you talk to us a bit about the prep for that comp and sort of the challenges in another COVID affected year of lifting?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that seems like so long ago. Because like the last year and a half has just been crazy for me. I guess that competition was after the first lot of lockdowns, and honestly, I don't even remember much. I think I remember that I was wanting to break the under 72 top world record at that time, which I think was maybe 5 kilos higher or something than the 553 I did. So that was the main focus of that competition, and I fell short of that. But there was no 72 class anyway, so I was kind of just like trying to beat this non-existent thing. And then I think we had another lockdown, maybe?
Yeah, because you were training in the garage at one point.
Yeah. So we had the second, and that was the longest one. And at that point, I was really starting to think, is this the right place for me? I'm progressing really well, and I'm really getting close to those top women that I had been looking to, and but never competing against. And so I was talking with my coach Dom about where was the right place for me, because at that time as well USAPL was breaking away, and so there was kind of a couple of different places you could go, but it really was the IPF. Like I had to go there and actually compete against those women.
So you ended up back in the NZPF March of 2022. You're in the under 76 class.
Yeah.
You went 8 for 9 in that first comp back, 582 for what was an unofficial world record at the time. Can you talk to us, I know you touched on it, but a little bit more about why you wanted to move back to the APA, to the NZPF, and talk to us a little bit about that first comp back.
Yeah, I mean, having such a lull with competition for a few years and then being forced to have no competitions by COVID, I was really watching the IPF World stage a lot, and the closer that I was getting to their totals, the more confident I was getting in myself with competing directly against them. And I was just itching for it. Like I was itching to beat someone and not just try and beat myself or this this ranking on open powerlifting. So the decision to go back, I was really excited. I was so excited to go back to the IPF and compete against people. And I don't think I knew what I was going to hit. I didn't expect to hit that 582. And when it happened, honestly, things just kind of blew up from there.
So we'll fast forward a little bit. NZPF Nationals of that year, so we're talking August 2022. Besides bombing out sort of earlier in your career, Nationals of 2022, you went 6 for 9. In terms of execution, not the best. Sort of why do you think that is? What went wrong? It didn't go too badly. Talk to us a bit about your total, your first crack at, I won't say you, I'll let you tell it.
Yeah.
At a total and a deadlift.
Yeah. So after Auckland, what was it? Auckland Champs. After that, there was Worlds, and I didn't apply in time to go. I wasn't even thinking about going because we couldn't even travel at that time, not well enough anyway. And I didn't want to risk getting stuck. So Worlds went by, and there was this huge battle between the the 1 and 2 in the under 76, Jess and Agatha, and they tied, and the difference was body weight. So it was a huge battle. And then a month or so after that I had my nationals, and so I was feeling a lot of pressure to do something huge to sort of keep myself in that conversation. And that was the 600. Everyone was talking about a 600 kilo total, and I wanted it so bad, and I felt like I could do it. I think what went wrong was just that I was new to an under 76 kilo class. Like, I was new to not having to cut so hard and refeed so hard. And so I refed the way I would if I cut to 72, and that affected me quite a lot. I felt quite nauseous and vommy on my squats. It was not nice. And then I was cramping up because I just made all these mistakes. And all I could take from that is that I made those mistakes at a really good time, and I've learned from them, and I haven't made those mistakes again since that's happened. But yes, went 6 for 9. That's not good. Still totaled 590, so feeling pretty confident still anyway.
And you had a crack at what on your last deadlift?
Just a Hail Mary, like 260.
How did it feel in the hands?
I couldn't believe it actually moved at all, to be honest.
It got pretty high from memory.
Yeah, it got like to below my knees. I was like, oh, okay.
So, like you said, you made the mistakes at the right time, nationals. So the next comp in the pipeline was a big one. Commonwealths of 2022. You got to put the silver fern on and represent New Zealand, for the first time. Was that something you'd always sort of dreamed about as a kid growing up? And also, talk to us a bit about how this comp might have been different for you. Give us a sort of rundown how it all played out.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to wear the fern ever since I was a little kid. I thought it was going to be for a different sport, but I'm so happy that I get to wear the fern for this sport now. And the uniform is really cool. So I love our uniform. It looks awesome. So Commonwealths, the first international IPF competition, no travel for me, but international judges. So that was good practice for me. It was an awesome comp. I couldn't believe how big it was and how many people actually came from overseas. Like, lots of people from the UK and Australia and South Africa brought a huge team. It was really cool to be a part of such a big international competition, and New Zealand ran it really well.
I know you had some big goals going into this one. So talk to us about how it all sort of played out and what that goal was in terms of total.
Yeah, so having missed out on the 600 at nationals, I was feeling extremely hungry, and it had to happen at this time because we were thinking a lot about Sheffield. So Sheffield was in the works. They were talking about wildcards, and I did not qualify at all for a wildcard because you had to have competed at an international IPF competition.
Right.
And for me, that would have been Commonwealths, but it was in December, Commonwealth, and Sheffield was in March. So my hope was quite small, and I was mostly just wanting to push the world record so that the girls who were already going to Sheffield would have to try and beat that. So I could at least make it hard for them to do that. So that's what training was about. It was, if there's a tiny chance to get picked to go to Sheffield, we need 600. And if not, then let's do 600 and to be petty.
And you got it?
And we did it.
So like you said, it sort of had to be that 600 for you to even have a remote chance for Sheffield. So Sheffield, the wild card, you're waiting, is it going to happen, is it not going to happen? You didn't know if you thought you were going to get it. And then in January this year, finally, you were kind of given that opportunity that you were hoping and praying for, which was the wild card. Talk to us a little bit about how you felt when you first found out.
So I kind of thought if it was going to happen, they would just decide if I did 600, they'll just let me know straight away. But that took them a few weeks to let me know. So I had already decided that I'm probably not going, that's fine. So when I got the email that I had been invited. Like me and my partner were driving on the motorway, and I just like lost my shit. And he was like, what's happening? Like, is someone hurt? Because I was just
driving.
I wasn't driving, he was driving. And I like almost threw my phone, and then I was like crying out of nowhere. And all I could say was like, I'm going. He knew straight away what that meant. So like, I think it was just the first time I would have ever felt extremely happy and like validated in my career of powerlifting.
So for those that are watching that might not be familiar with the format, can you explain a little bit about Sheffield in terms of how it's run and how it differs from something like a World Champs?
Yeah, so Sheffield, it was the first of its kind. This year was the first ever one, ran and held by SBD. It's basically it's World Champs versus World Champs, and there are a few wildcard spots for whoever SBD decide has some kind of, I don't know, capability to beat the world record or make a really good head-to-head matchup. So when you go, your goal is to beat the world record of your weight class by the highest percentage, and in that way everybody's competing against each other. So it's very different in that way, you know, making decisions on what you're lifting and how you're going to go about the game plans is very different. Get a lot of money, so you break world records for like squat, bench, deadlift. Now total you get 5k for each one of those that you do.
Wow.
And that's in British pound. So for us that's 10k. That's massive.
So everyone got some money. You got some money as well.
Yeah.
To help off pay that student loan.
Yeah.
So it was very different for you, I guess, from competitions that you'd done previously. And you know, there was media days, there's photo shoots, there's videography, all that kind of thing going on. How was the experience at Sheffield?
Yeah, the experience was incredible. You felt like a professional sports person. You know, everything that you watch in the lead up to different world champs or different World Cups, the UFC every weekend, and we watch Embedded. That's what it felt like. You know, you had cameras everywhere and doing interviews and just being taken care of as well. You know, your flights were paid and people picked you up from the train station. You're all fed, but also you were surrounded by greatness all the time. You're eating breakfast, dinner, lunch with them. So it was really incredible experience.
So talk a little bit more about sort of the ups and downs in your prep going into Sheffield, and maybe a bit of a rundown of the competition day itself. I know you spoke earlier about the strategy and the gameplay that's involved in attempt selection. So how did it go for you? I know there was a highly anticipated under 76 kilo female class. There was 3 of you in it. Any of you could have come out on top on any given day, right? So just give us a rundown of all of that.
Yeah, gosh, it really did feel highly anticipated. It just seemed like the talk of everything was that 3-way battle between us. I really wanted to win. You know, before, probably around Commonwealth time, I was still feeling really healthy and really strong. And the last few comps, like I had kept pushing that total, and so I did feel good. But in the prep of things, like I really felt really fatigued. I felt my body kind of trying to give up on me and say, we really need a rest, because I think the 3 competitions before that was constantly breaking unofficial world records, and that's a lot on the body. And I had a few months to do that again, and then also knowing that Worlds was after that, and I would have to do it again soon after. So the prep did not go as I really wanted to, but I was not hinting at that because I was trying to convince myself it wasn't happening. So on the competition day, had another 6 for 9 performance, and that was disappointing. It was hard to be disappointed because it was such an amazing environment. You know, the crowd, it felt like a rock concert, like everybody was treating you like some amazing athlete, and so it was hard to sit in that disappointment. But it was disappointing, and the consolation prize was that I out-totaled Jess and Agatha, and that's a good consolation, but it wasn't what I went there for.
So we'll fast forward a little bit. You just touched on it you had to go back to back in terms of competition. Only a couple of months later, June of this year, was IPF Worlds. Where was it, for those that don't know where it was, and wasn't your first time there from what I understand? You've been there before. Talk to us about Worlds of this year.
Yeah, so Worlds was 10 weeks after Sheffield, such a tight turnaround, and it was in Malta, which is sort of maybe an hour off the coast of Italy, and so beautiful, like Mediterranean area. It was summer. I'd been there, when did I go? It might have been 2016. I did like 2 months there at a hospital there for a placement and did some traveling, which was awesome. But it was also the very first place I squatted with a barbell. So it was
Shout out
like,
to Malta.
yeah, it was that was really the start of weight training for me.
So the training and the peak going into that, give us a bit of a rundown of how that went, how it compared to the Sheffield prep.
Yeah.
And then talk to us about the comp day. Obviously, it went pretty well.
Yeah. I was well and truly broken by that point. When I got back from Sheffield, I had really bad back pain. I wasn't deadlifting until like 4 weeks from Worlds. So feeling really confident with, if I just maintain my strength, I know that I'm strong. And so it was all about maintenance, just maintaining the strength I knew I had. And reminding myself that, I've been doing this for 5-6 years. Just because I'm going to have 6 or 8 weeks not training is not going to make a difference. My whole body's been through this. So there was a lot of mental stuff as well. And it was winter, work was crazy, and I was just like burning out. It wasn't a great prep, but when I got there, I had like 3 or 4 days just by myself. Nobody was there. And honestly, that was probably the best thing, just like a mental deload, and lay in bed, walk in the sun, get that vitamin D. My family joined me not long after. And we had an amazing day out on a boat a few days before competition. And nice. I just think that relaxation was just amazing for the last 2.5 months I had just had. But the competition itself, it was awesome. It was not like Sheffield in terms of like the scale, but the crowd and the support felt very much similar, and the media as well. There was a competition hotel, so you're all together and you're kind of walking around and meeting people, and people were taking photos with people. So it was just another really cool experience. And the competition day went as well as we could have planned. It went perfect, actually. 9 for 9 day.
And you came away with a world record total and a world record squat, so you're obviously very happy with that.
Yes.
So after that, you went on a bit of a food tour.
Yeah.
All around. So talk to us about where you went. What did you eat? Did you train at all during that period? Like you spoke just now about being broken.
Yeah. Before Worlds, I knew I'm not going to train. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. Like I definitely need just to breathe and to enjoy life a bit before we start this whole campaign again. And so, I got to travel with my partner, my family. We went to Italy and Sicily, and I just ate everything that I wanted to eat. All day, all night. People were like, what's your plan today? I'm like, it's the same as yesterday. I'm going to eat. And it was amazing. It was so good. Came back heavier, whatever. Took the time to lose that, and now we're back into training. And I feel so well rested, like mentally and physically. I feel like I'm in a really good place.
So because of that total at Worlds, you became the 9th lifter to get an invite to go back to the next Sheffield of 2024. So touching on that, what's going to be different this time in terms of your prep for it? Anything that you're going to keep the same? Talk to us about your strategy leading into this next Sheffield, and do you feel like you've got something to prove going in this time?
What I did at last Sheffield and last Worlds was on E, and so I'm excited to see what that's going to be like when it's on full. We had to sort of take a break from the conventional way that we would normally, Dom would normally run a program for me, because it's probably not best when you're feeling broken to be doing that kind of stuff. So we've gone back to what we did before Auckland's and before Commonwealths, and those were two very good comps for us. Our goals are really high, much higher, but I'm feeling extremely confident about it. And then in terms of having something to prove, I didn't know until the day before Sheffield that some of the podcasts had picked me for winning. I didn't actually.
Wow.
Dom was like, have a listen to the podcast the day before, and I didn't realize like how much people thought that I would be up the top. And you don't think about it too much, but you're sort of like, I guess I let those people down by coming 9th. So I'd like to prove them right this time.
Obviously, you've got a few world records under your belt now, no pun intended. I know you're a person that likes to set these crazy goals. So sort of what goals have you got for your future in powerlifting? We're talking Sheffield, more world records, titles. What's sort of the end game for you?
Yeah, this time for powerlifting it seems like it's just like on an upward trajectory, and it's happening fast. So I don't even know what next year is, not next year, 2025 is going to look like, and plans for that. But within the next year, it's definitely, I'm aiming to win Sheffield. I'm aiming to defend my world title. And then after that, I'm sure that things have progressed even further. After that, there's World Games, which is like a step down from Olympics. So that's also in the mix, and I'm thinking about that a lot. So winning a World Champs, that gets you pretty much to the World Games. So yeah, like the next 18 months it's going to be another push.
And anything sort of outside of powerlifting you see on your horizon in the next couple of years?
I mean, I've still been working a lot. Not a lot, but working hard. Working enough. And I've put sort of that progression on hold whilst I'm progressing through powerlifting, and it's taken a backseat in that regard. I'm almost at the end of being fully qualified. I literally just have to do one more thing, but honestly, with these competitions coming up, I'm just going to put that on hold until it's done. But all I'm really thinking about is powerlifting and traveling and getting that money.
Get that money. All right. So I've got a couple more before we wrap it up. So what do you think we can do in New Zealand to make powerlifting more popular and grow participation levels?
Oh, wow. This is such a bad question for someone who is very selfish in powerlifting. Yeah, I think a lot is happening now, and it's not being done by me. It's been done by people that like Evie and the people that are in their committees. But I think the small part that we do by being athletes who are going to these huge competitions, who are being put on these platforms, does a lot for exposure. So indirectly, maybe that's something I'm helping with. They're doing a lot already, all the comps, and they're holding lots of them, and the quality of them is getting higher.
And one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting out in powerlifting?
Yeah, my advice is always just to get started. I guess if you're already in a gym, then talk to a PT about learning how to squat and bench or deadlift. If you've already been doing that, get in touch with a coach. There's lots of coaches in New Zealand now, and they work with people at all stages and ages. But I think the thing that people get stuck on the most is just starting, because that's the hardest part. But once you start, you get addicted pretty quickly. So honestly, just get in contact with someone and get to the gym.
So when I first sort of thought we're bringing the show back for a second season, one of the people that was at the top of my list to get back on obviously was you. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for coming back on, sharing your story with us once again, giving us an update where you're at now. I just want to say good luck for the next chapter, and be ready to come back on again after Sheffield and after Worlds. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
So while we've still got you here, we're going to do a fun quick fire round. I've got 10 questions. The aim is to answer them as quickly as possible. It just gives us a little insight, little snapshot into getting to know you a little bit better for the people that follow you. So let's start with a very easy one. Quick answers, you can only pick one. Squat, bench or deadlift?
Squat.
What was the last song that you listened to?
What was it? I was on the radio.
Quickly.
Make me water. Sorry.
Essentials in your gym bag, pick 3.
Belt, knee sleeves, snack.
Favorite competition day snack then?
It is now just white bread. I've changed it a lot actually.
Shout out white bread. If you weren't powerlifting, what sport would you be doing?
Netball.
Late night or early morning person?
Late night.
What's the longest you've trained for in one session?
4 hours.
One place in the world you'd love to visit that you haven't already visited?
Turkey.
What age do you aim to retire?
No comment.
No comment. Last one, best piece of advice you've ever received, go.
Never say I can't.